Welcome to Gig Masters, your channel for how to get and keep more gigs. I'm your host, Mooney Man. Today, we're going to be talking about the contract and why you should use one as often as possible and whenever possible. But before we start, I want to say thanks to all of you who have watched the prior videos. Make sure that you subscribe, leave comments below, hit the thumbs up button, and without further ado, we'll get right into it. Oh, by the way, if you're new to the channel and you find these tips helpful, please hit that subscribe button and come back often. Now, we're going to talk about the contract. Now, the contract that we're going to discuss today isn't for major acts, not, international rock stars, generally not for guys who have agents or go through agencies that have a staff of people that do all of the clerical work for you. This channel, for the most part, and this episode specifically, is for the guy who is out there doing everything himself. He's his own agent. He's his own performer. He controls his destiny, like I have for the past 30 years and 12,000 plus gigs. This contract that we're going to discuss today is a basic, very simple, no frills agreement that you may want to use as a little extra layer of protection for you on the gig. It also helps the venue manager / owner in many instances. So without further ado, let's get into this. And the contract is beside me, and I'm going to leave that simple basic contract up for the entirety of the rest of the video. The first line of the contract you'll see says entertainment agreement and invoice. Now, the reason why it says that is because you'll notice that a lot of venues want to have an invoice. Well, this kills two birds with one stone. And you'll be surprised at how many times you're going to be asked for an invoice or a receipt after you've already received the signed contract. So it really makes it convenient. So a month after the gig and you get a phone call from payroll from a department of a place that you just played at asking for a receipt, well, then you can simply just email their signed receipt. In many cases, the person calling you has forgotten or didn't even realize that they signed the invoice. So you can just shoot it back to them, or you can be snarky and tell them that, well, they've already got it. Anyway, moving on. The first little part or paragraph of this contract is the legalese, so to speak. And the disclaimer about this is that I am not your attorney. You should check with your local laws and codes, specifically the ones in your state, regarding employment contracts. In my state, oddly enough, I don't even need a contract. A verbal contract is binding. However, I would recommend that if you're in a state like mine where a verbal contract for employment is binding legally, to go ahead and get a hard copy, because you'll be surprised at how useful this hard copy can be. Okay, so let's get into it. It says here, this agreement entered to this day of July between ABC Band, I'm going to use ABC Band as the sample, and the blank is for the venue to fill out. They may put a corporate entity name, or they may put their personal name. Hereafter referred to as purchaser is to establish the following. And that's pretty much the legal part of it. The purchaser is retaining the entertainment services of, you can put your name, you can put the band's name, or if your band is incorporated or you're going through an LLC or some other legal entity. For this sample, or for the intent of this episode, I have put ABC Band Incorporated. Okay. The very first thing that I put with the respect to the details of the event is the event date. That's important. So on this one, I'm using Halloween as the sample. And it says that the entertainer slash entertainers, because you can use this for your solo, you can use this as your band gig, you can use this for a lot of different applications, but for this channel, we're talking about musicians. The entertainers will perform as specified in the schedule below. And generally, I like to keep this very vague and to the point. So on this example, we've got 4:30 p.m. Make sure you put the p.m. through 7:30 p.m. And then after that, if you're going to take breaks, you got to put that. Otherwise, they're going to expect you to play for 3 straight hours. I never do that unless it's specified, because for 3 straight hours, it's going to be a different rate. Okay. I put with 2 10-minute breaks. And during the breaks, I mean, I could get more in detail, but generally on the breaks, sometimes on the contract, I will put that I will play genre specific to the event. In other words, I'll try to match up the break music from my iPad or my phone, pre-recorded music of something so that it just fills that 10-minute break if they want. Now, they may have some other event going on where maybe someone's at a podium speaking. That's happened quite a bit with me. Or they may want to have another act, like a juggler or a clown or something. I don't know, for those 10-minute breaks. It's up to them. Anyway, if it needs to be specified, put it on there. There's a little space. You can see the space there. Okay, make sure that you put the contact telephone number. In other words, put your phone number so they know how to get in contact with you. Make sure that you furnish them with all of the pertinent information to contact you if they need to. Your contact name, well, that would be you, or whoever in the band or act or group you designate as the contact. In my band, it's me. The type of event, well, this is a Halloween party. And I know that there's going to be some drinking and some dancing and some Halloween-y stuff going on. And you'll notice that right after that, I put indoor. And the reason why I want to spend a little time talking about that is in my market, indoor means relatively safe environment, comfortable environment. Outdoor means typically you're going to need more equipment. It might rain. I'm in South Florida. And in rainy season, you're going to deal with lightning, rain, wind, and insects every time. So my outdoor rate is significantly higher than my indoor rate. You may want to consider that for your market. I don't know, maybe you're in Colorado, and I don't know if February, the first week of February, outdoors in, say, Denver is, I don't know, it might be conducive, but man, for me, it's hard to play a guitar when my fingers are numb. Moving on. Address of event. Make sure that they fill in the address so you know where you're going. Setup location. Now, let's talk about this. It's important to find out a basic rough outline or description of where you're going to be setting up at the venue. Could it be the dining room floor? Could it be the stage? Could it be a rough outline would be helpful. You'd be surprised at how many times I show up on the gig and the person that booked me for that event isn't even there. They don't work weekends or they're on vacation. So you might need a rough outline of where to set up your gear once you load it in and perform. Now, this is a basic contract. There's been other contracts when I've had to actually ask which door to come in. For example, some country clubs want you to only come in through the service entrance. Other venues talk about coming in through a particular entryway, a backstage door. They don't want you coming through the front of the theater, that sort of thing. But this one, we're going to keep it simple on this episode. So anyway, find out where to set up and perform. Because in case somebody's in case no one's at the venue to tell you, and no one is there that has a clue, which has happened, you can just take it upon yourself to use your contract as a rough outline to set up and perform. Now, type of entertainment. I like to keep this vague. In other words, 100% live music, that's pretty to the point. However, I will put band. I won't put duo. I won't put trio. I won't put 4-piece or 5-piece or 10-piece. I put band. And the reason why is, what if one of your guys gets sick the day of the performance and you don't have 5 pieces, you only got 4? Well, by not being specific, you're covered. Moving on. The rate. Well, negotiate a rate. Put your rate out there. Try to stay competitive. That's all the advice that we'll go into that. You know what? I'll make a video about how to determine your rate. But today we're talking about contracts. So anyway, the rate is $1,000. I just threw that number out there. In my career, it's varied from, as a soloist playing on Halloween, I've played for $200, and I've played with my band for $5,000 on Halloween in years past. So the $1,000 is just there for an example. All right. Now, we're getting into the description of what you need. And then you can put all kinds of stuff on here. I like to keep it simple so that you don't overload the people who are booking you with minutia, with minute details. I mean, a lot of this stuff you can figure out on your own. But I always like to put that I'm going to need an electrical outlet within 20 feet of the performance area, because I will tell you this happened to me once. I got booked to do a blues festival at a golf club, at a golf course, and got to the gig, and I knew that they were going to put me outdoors on the putting green. But what I didn't know was that the nearest outlet to the putting green was about 250 yards away, and that meant that I had to go to the hardware store and get a couple of 100-foot extension cords, because all I had with me were 2 25-footers. So, and then when you're talking that length of cord, I don't even want to get into the havoc that wreaks on the equipment. At a certain point, you just shouldn't go past 100 feet. I don't want to get into current and voltage and ohms and all that stuff, resistance. I don't want to get into that. But anyway, I always like to put in my contract, you put that on them, is that you need an outlet within 20 feet. And I always carry a couple of 25-foot extension cords in the gig rig. But I use 20 feet just to give myself an extra few feet. Now, and then I go right to the close. If the terms are agreeable, please fill in the blanks, sign, date, and return to the address below with a 10% non-refundable deposit. Okay. I do this quite a bit. I try to get a deposit on onesies. Like in a previous video, I described onesies as being one-time only gigs. If they want you, generally like a private venue, like a golf and country club, or a wedding hall or something like that, or a hotel, they generally don't mind sending you a deposit to book you. Little ma and pa businesses like restaurants, small restaurants, that sort of thing, they don't want to do that. They just want to shake your hand. And by the way, I meant to preface this entire episode by saying that there is nothing wrong with a handshake agreement. However, contract, when you can get one, get one. Get a signed contract whenever possible. Trust me on this. Moving on. Now, if the terms of the contract are agreeable, generally you give them 30 days, which isn't even on here, but in this example, I wanted to keep it simple. I usually give them 30 days to get the deposit to me, or get the contract back to me. And you can put that on here if you like. But on this one, it's, I'm going to call them in 15 days and say, hey, where's the contract? I've got another booker looking to hire me. So anyway, now, as far as the balance of the rate, I always put that they've got up until the last note of my performance to pay me. This generally tells them that, well, they can give me the balance before I start. They can give me the balance on one of the breaks, or they can come up and hand me the envelope while I'm playing. I don't care. If they want to interrupt me while I'm performing to pay me, well, I'm okay with that. I don't know. Maybe you're not into that, but anytime somebody's handed me a check, I don't care what I'm in the middle of. Well, I shouldn't say. Anyway, moving on. Put your mail to address on there. Make sure that there's a spot for them to print their name, sign their name, put a contact phone number, although that may or may not help you. And then down at the very bottom, put a little spot for additional instructions. They may say, well, for Halloween, I want you guys to dress in Halloween costumes. Or they may say, don't wear Halloween costumes. Or they may say, we're going to give you some candy to hand out to the little kids. Or they may say, bring candy for the little kids. They could say all kinds of stuff. And then you try to be accommodating. But at least you've given them the opportunity to address any questions, concerns, or comments that they may have by putting additional instructions down at the bottom of that. Now again, this is for the local live entertainers. This is not for rock stars. Generally, contracts on an international or a regional level, if you're a famous recording artist and you're touring, you've got people handling your contracts. You've got an agent, and they'll deal with things like the hospitality rider, the insurance, the actual contract, the full contract. This is just simply an entertainment agreement that will protect you in the long run if you get in the habit of getting a signed contract. I can think of 3 instances when I've had to use the contract in a court of law for non-payment. 2 of them were double bookings where I showed up and there was already an act, and I walk in with my guitar case and I've got the contract in hand, and the venue manager says, oops, I double booked, sorry. Well, if that's a Saturday night, well, I could have worked somewhere else, and you'll find that once you start stacking the gigs up that, well, you could have worked somewhere else that Saturday night. So even though they've double booked, that's on them. So they still owe you. I've had to go to court twice, small claims court, and maybe I'll make a video of that in the future of how to do that. But there's so many different laws in different states. But in my state, you can bring them to small claims court, and if you've got a contract, that just helps you. The one time that it wasn't a double booking, it was a church, believe it or not. They just didn't want to pay me. It took me months to get it, and fortunately, I did have a contract, and when they were served the papers for small claims court, magically a day later, the check appeared in my mailbox. So get a contract whenever you can. I hope this tip has been helpful. Please feel free to check out the other videos on my channel. If you found this tip helpful, please comment below, hit the like button, and please help me grow this channel and subscribe. Thank you for visiting Gig Masters. How to get and keep more gigs.